For 3,000 years, the Empire had only seen one reaction when their ships arrived. Fear. Worlds would go silent. Leaders would rush to send surrender codes. Armies would power down their weapons before the Empire even asked. The sight of the Empire's black warships in the sky was enough to break entire civilizations. They did not need to fight anymore. Their reputation fought for them. The Empire called themselves eternal. Their fleets stretched across thousands of systems. Their soldiers were engineered for strength. Their weapons could turn oceans into steam. Every species that tried to resist had vanished from history. The Empire feared nothing, and nothing in the galaxy dared laugh at them, until they reached Earth. Earth had been under quiet observation for years. Imperial scouts studied human history. They saw wars. They saw conflict. They saw nations divided by borders and language. Humans fought each other constantly. Compared to the unity of the Empire, humanity looked primitive and disorganized. The Emperor himself reviewed the reports. Low threat, the High Commander said. Aggressive species, but divided. Their technology is developing, but far behind ours. The Emperor gave a simple order. Add them to the Empire. 50 Imperial warships jumped into Earth's orbit without warning. Massive black structures blocked the stars. Cities across the planet looked up and saw shapes larger than mountains floating in the sky. Panic spread instantly. News stations broke into emergency broadcasts. Satellites failed. Military forces went to full alert. Missiles were prepared, though everyone knew they would be useless. Across the world, fear grew exactly as the Empire expected. Then the message came. A single transmission from the Imperial flagship reached every screen on Earth. A tall alien figure appeared. His armor was dark and polished. His eyes were cold. People of Earth, he said calmly, you are now under the authority of the Eternal Empire. Kneel, and you will be allowed to exist. Resist, and you will be erased. The transmission ended. Silence covered the planet. Inside the Imperial flagship, officers watched Earth closely. They monitored communications, military signals, and power levels. They expected surrender codes within minutes. Instead, something unusual happened. The humans requested a meeting. The Empire allowed it. A global broadcast activated again. This time, a human representative appeared on screen. He was an older man with calm eyes. No fear showed on his face. No panic. Behind him stood several military officers, quiet and still. The alien commanders leaned forward. The human looked at the alien image still floating beside him on the display. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he smiled. And suddenly, he laughed. It was not nervous. It was not forced. It was deep, real laughter. Inside the Imperial flagship, confusion spread. Is this a translation error? One officer asked. No, another replied. He is amused. The human representative wiped a tear from his eye. Property, he said between breaths. You travel across the galaxy, and that is your introduction? More laughter escaped him. Across Earth, panic slowly turned into silence as people listened. The alien High Commander felt something unfamiliar. Uncertainty. The human leaned forward slightly. You should have studied a little deeper, he said calmly. We are not what you think. Before the aliens could respond, the transmission ended. Moments later, Imperial sensors detected something new. Energy spikes. Multiple, large-scale signatures appearing from behind the moon. From deep space beyond Mars. From hidden positions near Jupiter. The High Commander's voice lowered. Those readings were not there before. The Emperor stood from his throne. On the main screen, dozens, then hundreds of objects powered up across the solar system. Ships. Large ships. Human ships. And they were not primitive. They were waiting. For the first time in centuries, the Empire realized something was wrong. They had expected fear. Instead, they had walked into a trap. And somewhere on Earth, the human representative stopped laughing. Because the real show was about to begin. The Empire had entered thousands of systems before. They had seen hidden weapons. They had crushed secret defenses. But what appeared around Earth was different. Across the solar system, space itself seemed to wake up. Near the moon, dark metal structures unfolded like giant wings. Around Mars, silent stations powered on, glowing with controlled energy. From behind Jupiter's storms, massive shapes moved forward, their engines burning with steady blue light. These were not rushed defenses. They were prepared. Inside the Imperial flagship, warning signals filled the command hall. New contacts detected. numbers increasing, energy output rising beyond predicted human limits. The High Commander's calm expression slowly faded. "How many ships?" he demanded. An officer swallowed. "Over 200 confirmed, and more signatures are still appearing." The Emperor stared at the tactical display. Red icons representing Imperial warships were now surrounded by expanding blue circles. Humans had hidden an entire fleet inside their own system, and they had done it without being noticed. On Earth, the human representative returned to the global broadcast room. This time he was not alone. Behind him stood commanders from different nations, different uniforms, different flags, but they stood together. The world was watching. The representative spoke calmly. "For years, we watched the stars," he said. "We knew someone would come. Maybe friendly, maybe not." He paused. "So we prepared." The Imperial fleet received a direct transmission from Earth. A clear human voice filled every alien bridge. "You entered our system without permission. You threatened our world. That was your mistake." The High Commander slammed his fist against the console. "They are still inferior. Fire a warning strike." A massive Imperial cruiser turned its main cannon toward the moon, aiming at one of the newly revealed human platforms. The weapon charged. Bright energy gathered at its core. It fired. A beam of white light cut across space. For a second, it looked unstoppable. Then a transparent shield appeared around the human platform. The beam struck it and shattered, like glass breaking against stone. The Imperial bridge went silent. Shield strength on the human side did not even drop. The Emperor slowly sat back down. "Full scan," he ordered quietly. Sensors worked at maximum power. The results were worse than expected. Human ships were not using unstable energy like most young civilizations. Their systems were clean, efficient, controlled. Their formation was precise, almost mathematical. They were not reacting in panic. They were executing a plan. Suddenly, Imperial targeting systems began to glitch. One by one, ship displays flickered. Signal interference detected. Weapon lock failure. Navigation systems unstable. The High Commander's eyes widened. "Counter it." "We are trying, but they are inside our systems." Human signals were flowing through Imperial networks like water through cracks. On Earth, deep underground, a massive control center pulsed with activity. Rows of operators watched alien data streams appear on their screens. A young officer looked at her commander. "They are strong," she said softly. The commander nodded. "But not ready." Back in orbit, the first human battleship moved forward. It was larger than any Imperial cruiser. Its surface was smooth and silver, without aggressive spikes or heavy armor plates. It did not look brutal. It looked confident. More human ships followed, forming a slow tightening circle around the Imperial fleet. No one fired. No explosions filled space. Only silence. The High Commander felt it clearly now. They were the ones being surrounded. The Emperor stood again, anger rising in his voice. This species was classified as divided. Primitive. Weak. An officer answered carefully. "Perhaps, Majesty, we saw only what they allowed us to see." On Earth, the human representative looked up at the sky through a glass ceiling. Black Imperial warships were no longer symbols of fear. They were targets. He spoke one final message to the Empire. "You came here expecting us to kneel." Behind him, military leaders stood steady. He gave a small smile. "We do not kneel." In orbit, every human ship powered weapons to stand by. Not charging wildly. Not shaking with aggression. Simply ready. The Empire had ruled through fear for centuries. But fear was a weapon. And today, it had changed sides. The Empire had faced rebels before. They had crushed alliances. They had burned worlds that dared to resist. But this was different. There was no screaming. No chaotic defense. No desperate missiles flying in random directions. There was only silence. And control. The Imperial fleet tightened formation, weapons charging again. If intimidation failed, destruction would follow. That had always been their answer. "Prepare full volley," the High Commander ordered. Energy built across 50 Imperial warships. Cannons glowed bright white. Space around them shimmered from the heat. On the human side, there was no rush. Human ships adjusted position slowly, like pieces moving across a board. Inside the hidden command center beneath Earth's surface, a calm voice gave a single command. Phase 1. In orbit, the first strike did not come from a weapon. It came from silence. Every Imperial ship suddenly lost external communication. Their fleet network collapsed. Screens flickered. Signal blackout. Internal systems switching to isolated mode. The Empire had always depended on unity between ships. Their strength was coordination. And now they were alone. The High Commander growled. Manual targeting. Fire. The Imperial volley launched. 50 beams of destruction tore through space toward Earth and the surrounding human fleet. This time, humans did not only defend. They moved. Human ships shifted formation in perfect timing. Shields flared only where needed. Some beams missed completely as ships predicted their path before they were even fired. The beams that did connect struck layered defense grids and vanished in harmless flashes of light. Not a single human ship was destroyed. Not one. Before the Imperial fleet could recharge, human ships answered. But again, not with raw destruction. Thin blue lines extended from several human vessels. They did not look powerful. They looked precise. When those lines touched Imperial ships, engines shut down. Not exploded. Shut down. Weapon systems powered off. Lights flickered across alien hulls. Engine failure on Cruiser 7. Destroyer 12 cannot fire. Power loss spreading. The High Commander stared in disbelief. They are not attacking our hulls. He understood too late. They are attacking our systems. Human technology did not aim to destroy metal. It aimed to control it. Within minutes, 1/3 of the Imperial fleet drifted powerless in orbit. No explosions. No bodies floating through space. Just silent ships. The Emperor's voice turned cold. Activate internal purge protocols. Remove their intrusion. But every attempt to isolate systems failed. Human code was already inside. It moved faster than alien engineers could respond. On Earth, the human representative watched the battle through a live tactical display. A young officer beside him whispered, "We could destroy them now." He nodded slowly. Yes, but that is not the lesson. Back in orbit, the largest human battleship advanced toward the Imperial flagship. Its presence alone was intimidating. It moved without hurry, as if time belonged to it. The High Commander felt something he had never experienced before. Not fear of death, fear of losing control. For centuries, the Empire had ruled because no one could stand against them. Now someone could, and they were not even trying to kill them. A final human transmission opened across all remaining Imperial ships. The same calm voice spoke. You built your empire on fear. You thought power meant destruction. A pause. Power is control. At that exact moment, every remaining Imperial weapon system powered down simultaneously. Across the fleet, alien crews stood in stunned silence. They were surrounded, disarmed, alive. The Emperor looked at the tactical screen. All red icons were frozen. All blue icons held position calmly. He whispered the words no emperor before him had spoken. How? On Earth, the human representative leaned back in his chair. And once again, he laughed. Not loudly, not wildly, just enough for the sound to echo through every Imperial bridge. For the first time in its long history, the Empire understood what it felt like to be helpless. And the humans had not even begun their final move. The Imperial fleet drifted above Earth like broken statues. Engines silent. Weapons cold. Pride shattered. But the Empire was not defeated yet. Not in their minds. The Emperor stood tall inside his flagship, even as every system around him remained under human control. His guards tightened their grip on their weapons, though they knew those weapons would not fire. Prepare boarding defense, the High Commander ordered. If they enter this ship, they will pay for every step. Moments later, new contacts appeared on the scanner. Small human crafts approached the disabled Imperial vessels. They were not large warships. They were compact, fast, and precise. Boarding ships. Across the fleet, human teams attached to Imperial hulls with controlled magnetic locks. No explosions. No violent entry. Just clean entry points opening like doors. Inside the flagship, alien soldiers formed defensive lines in long metal corridors. Heavy armor. Energy rifles ready. Their training told them humans would charge wildly. But when the first airlock opened, humans did not rush. They walked in, calm, organized, wearing dark tactical suits with smooth helmets. No visible fear. No shouting battle cries. Their movements were silent and steady. The first alien soldier fired. The weapon sparked and shut down instantly. Across the corridor, every alien rifle lost power at the same time. Human control systems had already reached them. Panic began to rise. Alien soldiers stepped back as human teams advanced without firing a single shot. A human officer removed her helmet. Her face was calm, focused. "We are not here to kill you," she said clearly in translated Imperial language. "Stand down." Some aliens resisted. They charged. Within seconds they were pinned to the ground, restrained by advanced human tech that locked around their limbs like liquid metal turning solid. No blood, no chaos. Total dominance. Within an hour, every Imperial vessel was secured. The largest prize remained, the Emperor's flagship. In the Grand Command Hall, massive doors opened slowly. Human soldiers entered in formation. The Emperor remained seated on his elevated throne. He refused to stand. "You dare," he said coldly. The human commander stepped forward. A woman with steady eyes and silver markings on her uniform. "Yes," she replied simply. The High Commander moved to protect the Emperor, but invisible force restraints locked him in place. The human commander looked up at the ruler of the Empire. "You traveled across light years to make us kneel." The Emperor's voice remained proud. "You are one system. We control thousands." The commander tapped a small device on her wrist. Suddenly, a projection filled the Imperial Hall. Star maps. Huge regions of space highlighted in blue. The Emperor stared. "These are human territories," she said calmly. The map zoomed out. More blue appeared. Hidden colonies. Deep space stations. Fleets parked far beyond normal sensor range. "You thought Earth was alone," she continued. "You thought we were young and divided." Her eyes locked onto his. "We have been united longer than you have been watching." The Emperor's confidence cracked for the first time. "You had all this?" "Yes." "Why?" She gave a small smile. "Because loud empires fall first." Silence filled the hall. The human commander stepped closer. "We do not conquer. We build. We explore. We prepare." The Emperor finally stood. "You will kill me," he said. It was not a question. The commander shook her head. "No." Confusion spread across the alien faces. "You will return home," she said. "You will tell your people what happened here." She leaned slightly forward. "And you will remember that we chose not to destroy you." The Emperor felt something worse than defeat. He felt mercy. For the Empire, mercy was humiliation. Human forces escorted him toward a transport craft. Around him, his once mighty fleet remained powerless. Before entering the transport, he looked back at Earth floating in the distance. A small blue world, one he believed would kneel. Instead, it had placed him in chains. As the transport departed, human forces began restoring minimal power to Imperial ships, just enough for them to leave. Not enough to fight. Back on Earth, the human representative watched the operation quietly. A young officer beside him asked, "Why let them go?" He looked at the stars calmly. "Because fear spreads faster when carried home." In orbit, the last Imperial ship turned away from Earth. The Empire had come to conquer. Now they were retreating. Not destroyed. Not burned. But changed. And in the silence of space, one truth remained clear. The Empire had feared nothing. Until now. The journey back to the Imperial capital was silent. No victory music played across the fleet. No proud signals were broadcast to nearby systems. The once unstoppable warships moved slowly through hyperspace, their scars invisible but deeply felt. Inside the flagship, the Emperor stood alone in the command chamber. The restraints had been removed before departure. Humans had not treated him like an animal. They had treated him like a ruler. That made it worse. The High Commander approached carefully. "Majesty, what will we tell the High Council?" The Emperor did not answer at first. His eyes were fixed on the stars stretching endlessly ahead. "For centuries," he said slowly, "we believed fear was the ultimate weapon." He turned toward the tactical display, replaying the battle over Earth. Human ships surrounding them. Imperial weapons failing. System control lost in seconds. No wild rage. No desperate last strike. Only calm precision. They were never afraid. The Emperor continued quietly. "Not even when we threatened their extinction." The High Commander hesitated. "Shall we prepare a larger fleet? Return with full force?" For a long moment, the Emperor said nothing. Then he shook his head. "If we return with force, we may not return at all." Back on Earth, celebrations were controlled but proud. News spread across the planet. The Empire had retreated. Humanity had not been conquered. But there were no wild festivals. Only relief. Inside the underground command center, global leaders gathered again. The human commander who had faced the Emperor stood before them. Status? She asked. Imperial fleet has exited our system, an officer replied. No hostile signals detected. And the message? The officer nodded. It has already begun spreading. Across nearby star systems, merchant vessels and neutral civilizations received quiet reports. The Empire had attacked Earth. The Empire had been stopped. The Empire had been spared. Alien governments struggled to believe it. For generations, the Empire's name meant absolute power. Resistance meant annihilation. But now a new story moved through the galaxy. A small blue world had faced the Empire and laughed. Days later, the Imperial capital received its fleet. Massive black ships entered orbit, but something was different. Their formation lacked pride. Their arrival lacked ceremony. The High Council gathered in the central chamber. Ancient alien leaders watched as the Emperor entered. They expected triumph. Instead, they saw something else. Control. Calm. The Emperor stood before them. We encountered a species, he began, that does not fear us. Murmurs filled the chamber. They possess fleets hidden beyond our detection, technology that overrides our own, and discipline greater than we predicted. One council member hissed angrily. Then we crushed them with our full might. The Emperor's voice hardened. You did not see what I saw. Silence fell. They could have destroyed us. Every ship, every soldier. Me. He paused. They did not. The chamber grew still. They wanted us to understand. Far beyond the Imperial capital, in neutral systems, ambassadors from smaller civilizations began sending quiet messages toward Earth. Careful greetings. Respectful inquiries. Not demands. On Earth, the human representative looked at a new transmission request list. Dozens of alien worlds wanted contact. Not as conquerors. As equals. He smiled slightly. In deep space, hidden human fleets returned to silent watch positions. Shipyards powered down. Defense grids faded back into darkness. Humanity did not celebrate loudly. They prepared quietly, because they knew something important. The galaxy had just changed. The Empire had ruled through fear for centuries. But now, when their name was spoken, another name followed it. Humanity. And this time, fear belonged to the Empire. While on Earth, under a calm blue sky, people went back to their normal lives. Because to humans, survival was not victory. It was expectation. And if the Empire ever forgot that lesson, humans would be ready. Again.